Meeting to order. This is the regular session of the Mayor and Council of the City of Bisbee, County of Cochise, and State of Arizona, to be held on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020, at 7 p.m. at the City Hall building, 915 South Toberville Road, Bisbee, Arizona. Ms. Coronado, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Louis Pollock.
Here.
Councilmember Joni Giacomino.
Here.
Councilmember Bill Higgins.
Here.
Mayor David M. Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Leslie Johns is excused. Councilmember Joan Hanson.
Here.
Councilmember Anna Klein.
Here.
City staff Teresa Coleman, City Manager. Ashley Coronado, City Clerk. Joelle Landers, Personnel Director. Jesus Haro, Public Works Director. Albert E. Chavez, Police Chief. James Ledbetter, City Attorney.
Thank you, ma'am. For our moment of silence, I'd like to continue our international dilemma as it is. And right now, I'd like us to, since we remain free in this area and our numbers in this county are relatively low, to think about our neighbors directly to the west. Santa Cruz County is picking up cases very, very quickly. I believe that that small county is at 95 cases right now. So I'd like to keep them in our thoughts and our prayers. So if you join me, please. Thank you. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Under announcements, we have no proclamations. Under announcements, I'd like to indicate that there will be some ceremonies at both of the cemeteries and the Overlook on Memorial Day. This will be done by the VFW and American Legion, and we'll post further details on that. And they are getting the information out also. But it will be with social distancing, etc. And so I just wanted to make sure that people did know that. I will be pulling item number 6. I believe that item number 6, although it has come to us before in many different, or several different forms, that I do want to acquiesce to public comment and allow the public to get together with us in a work session to air basically however many sides there are to that. So I do want public input to that. And under the circumstances that we're operating under, we do have public input, but it's not a free exchange of ideas, which is something that I would prefer. Item number 9, we will be discussing item number 9. However, item number 9 is for discussion only. We're not going to take any votes tonight. We're going to discuss item number 9, give it back to staff, and the city manager will help explain that when we get down there. And with that, I will go to call to the public and remind everybody that when you do send in your comments to us, we still are under the 3-minute time element. And so if you are writing War and Peace, we're going to read war, but we're not going to get to the peace. So with that, Ms. Landers, thank you, ma'am.
Stephen Green. Old City Hall. As a serving member of the Old Bisbee Design Review Board, I firmly support the efforts to save and preserve this fine part of our history. Tourism has replaced mining as our new industry, and this will provide continued growth for our community. It is important that we maintain and preserve Bisbee's heritage.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sue Lamb, again, saved our City Hall. I support the renovation and preservation of the Bisbee City Hall located in the Warren District. I oppose the demolition wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Yolanda Montiel, it's an eyesore, demolish it, rebuild, believe.
Thank you.
City Hall demolition, Hillary Gardner, tear it down, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Margot McCartney, Bisbee City Hall building. I hate the idea of demolishing City Hall. It is an historic building, and Warren is either already a historic district or on its way to becoming one. And that building is a cornerstone of the historic district. Before voting on this, I would like to see calculations that compare the demolish and rebuild versus the reinforce and rebuild inside. It is up for discussion now, but I hope no decision will be made until we, the taxpayers, have an opportunity to compare the costs and weigh in on that decision.
Thank you.
Donna Pulling, City Hall, item number 6, to Mayor and Council. I ask that one council member make the motion to table this matter until meetings are open to the public. This important vote should not be taken at this time when people are worried about the virus pandemic. Based upon the structural engineer report of May 2018, there are no indications that the building is a hazard if left standing, only that rebuilding will be difficult and require substantial reinforcement. Please be reminded, the public consensus summarized in the community meeting report held in November 2018 at the Bisbee Royale was to seek additional grant funds to preserve and rebuild the existing structure. One, Lynn Karchner, a local structural engineer, advised the council at an earlier meeting that the building could be reinforced and saved. 2, Lithic Construction, a local company that has been repairing retaining walls and buildings all over town, said they would build an interior structure with the facade so the existing walls would not be weight bearing, and that they will do this within the budget limit of the remaining insurance money using a simplified architectural design. 3, there have been suggestions that the existing structure be cleaned up, stabilized, and improved as an outdoor community park like venue for public and private events. Until all of these options are researched and discussed with public input, I urge you to either table this matter or vote no on demolishing the building. Preserve this building as an important historic building in Warren and Bisbee's history. Donna Pulling.
Thank you.
Randy Heiss, ambulance subscription fees. Greetings. I am writing to oppose the City Council taking action on the proposed ambulance subscription fees on the agenda for consideration at tomorrow night's meeting, Tuesday, tonight, at this time. The citizens of the city are unable to understand the fiscal impact to their households because the amount of the proposed subscription fee has not been made publicly available in the agenda packet or otherwise. In addition, it's unknown to the citizens of Bisbee if the proposed annual fee will be applied equitably. For example, will the fee be assessed on property owners only, or will the fee also be assessed to renters of real property? What will happen if households refuse to pay the fee, and how will their non-payment impact the fees of the remaining households in the future? Will the proposed subscription fee be assessed to senior citizens and other disadvantaged individuals on fixed or limited incomes, or only those who are currently employed. If a detailed staff analysis or other data that could potentially answer these and other questions around the proposed subscription fee will be presented to the council, it should be made publicly available so that citizens can better understand the fiscal impact to their household budgets and inform their individual decisions to support or oppose the proposed fee before the council takes any action on this matter. Thank you in advance for consideration. Respectfully, Randy House.
Thank you.
Wrong pipe.
Agenda item 6, Alice Hammers. Dear council members Higgins, Hanson, Giacomino, Klein, Johns, Pollock, Mayor Smith, and City Manager Coleman.
Do you want me to read? Sorry. On agenda item number 6, the demolishing of the shelf of the AZ City Hall. I am asking to table the motion until the subsiding of the pandemic and we can hold a regular in-person city council meeting. As representatives, not directors of residents of Bisbee, it is only fair that you respect and consider the clearly strong sentiment among many to retain and reconstruct the existing shell at a regular, non-pandemic city council meeting. For those of you wishing to demolish that structure, what specifically are your reasons? Certainly that needs to be made clearly known to all interested residents and others who have a direct interest in Bisbee. I am asking a council member who favors the retaining and rebuilding of the existing shell to make a motion to table agenda item number 6 as noted above. Although I reside in McNeil, I have since my arrival in 2006 been active in the Bisbee community in many ways. I would love to see the City Hall built on AZ Street in its current location with the reconstituted shell as a facade as per or some variation of the incredibly imaginative and possible plan presented by Ben Lepley at a much earlier council meeting.
Thank you.
Ben Lepley, City Hall item number 6, why the rush? Dear Mayor Smith and Council, after the City Hall burned down, a wonderful public meeting was held at the Royale in which public comments were queried and a consensus was taken to rebuild City Hall within the existing shell. We are now in a scenario where the public cannot attend these council meetings and cannot meet as a community to discuss. All boards and committees have been put on hold, disallowing any form of communication, discussion, and planning to happen. Even as the rest of the country is continuing onwards with Zoom meetings, we have been shut in the dark. It should be noted, since the fire, at least 2 structural engineers and 4 architects have stated they believe the shell is reusable and can be supported with the assistance of grant money. There's also a local contractor who says they can build inside the shell with existing funds. The plan set forth was for the city to acquire grant funds to augment the insurance reimbursement. A local architect responded to the RFP with this exact scenario in mind and rescinded his offer because the city failed to acquire funds. I did not submit to the RFP in part because there was no proof of adequate construction funds. The State Historic Preservation Office has offered their help and has indicated there may be grant funds available should Bisbee apply. Contact Eric Farney. Cochise County has a Brownfields grant which is still open for nominations. However, City Hall has not been submitted, even though it meets the criteria perfectly. What are you offering us in exchange for demolishing the City Hall shell, Mayor Smith? Here is a list of alternate things we could do with the insurance funds. repair the failing retaining walls and drainage ditches around Bisbee, stay at Tawdryville, fix it up nice, use the money elsewhere, turn the City Hall shell into a covered farmers market and venue, purchase 24 cat traps for the shelter and fund TNR, build a sidewalk and bike lane around the pit, buy new computers for our schools, pay our police officers more so they stay longer than a year, fix the parking problem, update the fire hydrant and emergency response infrastructure, install fire sprinklers in the library and school buildings. These are my 3 suggestions. 1, get a full or part-time professional grant writer. This position will pay for itself in droves. Relying on free grant writers isn't realistic. 2, do as promised and contact SHPO on what order of operations they require for the grant. Perhaps they require an architectural plans and engineering first, or perhaps they don't.
Thank you for 3 minutes, thank you.
Budget numbers can budge. Mayor Smith and Council, upon review of the published city budget numbers, these questions have come to light. In the Bisbee Observer, May 7th and 14th, the city published the required budget numbers. 1, Schedule F and Schedule E expenditures, which must match, do not. They are $15,000 off. They need to match Schedule B, revenue. Will this mistake require expensive reposting in the paper? 2, why did the city post Schedule E twice, page 13 and 14, on both dates, and how much extra has that cost taxpayers? 3, please look into these matters and publicly post the answers. Thank you, Ken Butch.
Staff, would you have the finance director answer those questions and ship the answers out to the council, please? Thank you.
Ruby Odell, $75 ambulance fee. I do not support this mandatory fee. I ask the council to vote this down. I live on a fixed income and the monthly rate is beyond what I can pay and what I need. I live on Social Security only. Regardless of the compassion I feel for anyone who has to be transported to a hospital in an ambulance, this outlay should be covered in their medical insurance. It's outrageous to put this cost on the community members, especially those living on the poverty line. Please consider carefully and halt any further action on this proposal, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Colleen Party, City Hall. I strongly stress the importance of this building as a historical structure integral to the history of Bisbee. And must be saved in some form. I have personally witnessed the loss of a large portion of our national heritage during the urban revitalization projects of the 1970s. Colleen.
Thank you.
Colleen Party, City Hall. It's separate, 2 separate emails.
Go ahead.
Make the decision now to keep it. Table for later what will be done after. I am not certain, but I believe it was the first commercial building in Warren. Yes, it was the headquarters for Calumet in Arizona. The second biggest mine. Greenway was the CEO. If you have read the biography of Isabella Greenway, you would want to keep the building. She has played a pivotal role in the forming of Arizona and the election of FDR. Colleen. And it says, John and Judy Dawson, we appreciate you. Go 1% sales tax.
Thank you.
Michael Graves, City Hall Historic Preservation. To Mayor and Council, Lithic Construction is invested in the rehabilitation of the City Hall building. Lithic would like to build an office building within the original structure without load to remaining original masonry facade. Lithic would be working with associate contractors that have experience with earthquake retrofitting and commercial construction. Lithic believes that the building can be made usable as office space for under City Hall budget. Lithic is requesting the opportunity to present architectural and engineered plans to fit the City Hall budgetary constraints. Lithic is currently working with an engineer and architect that are optimistic for rebuilding under budget while preserving the historical facade of that building. We believe that it is premature to demolish the building at this time. Michael Graves.
Thank you.
Bill McGuire, Old New City Hall question. I am Bill McGuire, residence at 523 Tombstone Canyon in Old Bisbee. My comments on the Old New City Hall question are as follows. I prefer the city spend the least money required to arrive at a convenient and efficient site for a new city hall. This suggests to me a site in the San Jose business area where choices exist in currently unused structures or on a greenfield site in the area. If the city builds from new, a modern facility with an emphasis on empowering city workers to do their jobs is my choice. We just need a simple structure as it benefits a local area that still struggles economically to keep city costs down initially and over the long haul. While there may be some historical significance attached to the old city hall, there are many buildings in Bisbee overall that wonderfully convey the wealth of the city's architecture and history. The existing burned out shell will be expensive to rebuild and at the bid quote and will no doubt have cost overruns. Buildings that old present many odd surprises, even with no fire damage. The lot the building shell is located on is prime real estate in an area that would likely be boosted by a non-governmental use for the site. Selling the property into the private sector is expected to both increase the business tax base of the city and support growth in the Arizona Avenue corridor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna Pulley, Grasp Service Contract Air Conditioning Units. Please ask during the discussion of the emergency purchase of the air conditioned units. Out of what fund is this being paid? Thank you, Donna Pulley. That's all. Thank you.
That's all? Thank you. Appreciate it. And you're all okay now? All
I'm
right.
reading it down.
I appreciate your help very much. And we'll move on to accounts payable.
I move that we pay accounts payable in the amount of $284,260.90.
Thank you.
My second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have questions?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am?
On page 2, under contract services for Cintas, there's a $1,000 expense for extinguisher services. Do we not have anybody in the fire department that refills, that checks the extinguishers and refills them?
I don't believe that we do. Typically, that's somebody that's certified, and I don't believe that our fire department is certified in refilling fire extinguishers.
Okay, they used to, and that's why I'm questioning.
I don't know if they even have the ability to. It takes the equipment that they have.
NFPA has changed their requirements, I believe, ma'am, but therefore I don't believe that we have certified people.
Okay, I was just asking Mr. Harold. And then on page 5, there's $1,723.91 expense for 18 buckets for the library. What kind of buckets are we talking about for almost 18,000? 1,800, sorry.
That was material for the roof. We completely redid the roof on it, so.
Oh, so it's just for like the white coating or?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. And I thought I had one more, but I don't see it. That's it?
That's it? Those in favor of paying accounts payable, signify by stating aye. Opposed, nay. We stand unanimous.
Like to say adjourned.
I saw you perk up a lot there. Moving on to general business, and, I'm sorry, number 2 is approval of the consent agenda. Items A through E. Item A, approval of the minutes of the regular session of the mayor and council held on April 21st, 2020 at 7 p.m. Item B, approval of the minutes of the special session of mayor and council held on April 27, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. C, approval of the minutes of the special session of mayor and council held on April 28, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. D, approval of the minutes of the special session of mayor and council held on April 29, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. E, approval of the minutes of the regular session of mayor and council held on May 5, 2020 at 7 p.m. Does the council want any of those full for discussion? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda, items A through E.
I'll second that. Ms. Coronado?
Mayor Pro Tem Pollock.
Aye.
Councilmember Giacomino.
Aye.
Councilmember Higgins.
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson.
Aye.
Councilmember Klein.
Aye.
Mayor Smith.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. New business, item 4. Item 3. My computer gets ahead of me and scrolls up. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I get ahead of myself and scroll up. How's that? Item 3, discussion of possible approval of ordinance 02008, accepting the transfer of real property from the Dykes Family Trust located at 416 N Street, Bisbee. This has previously been discussed. Does anybody have any questions of Ms. Goldman? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve ordinance O-20-08, accepting the transfer of real property from the Dykes family located at 416 North Street, N Street, Bisbee.
I second.
Ms. Coronado?
Mayor Pro Tem Pollock.
Aye.
Councilmember Giacomino.
Aye.
Councilmember Higgins.
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson.
Aye.
Councilmember Klein.
Aye.
Mayor Smith.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Item number 4, discussion of possible approval of FY21 Blue Cross Blue Shield Insurance and Delta Dental Insurance renewal agreements. Ms. Landers. You may kick Mr. Harrow out.
Okay.
He successfully removed
Welcome, Ms. Landers.
Thank you. So we have again gone through CBIZ, the insurance company, and we've done that for over 10 years. For the Blue Cross Blue Shield proposal, the initial response was a 15.7% renewal rate increase. They were able to successfully negotiate a 5%. We knew there was going to be an increase of some kind simply because last year was our introductory year with Blue Cross Blue Shield. 5% is a very good increase. There are a few changes to the plan. a small increase in office visit co-pays, emergency room co-pays, and that is, the same between the core plan and the buy-up plan. And again, on both plans, we have increases in the prescription drug tiers. Majority of the people who are currently on the insurance plan, their medications fall under tier 1, which does not have any change at this time. And the change rates increases are in there, respectively about $10 per level. And then we did ask for a breakdown of the members that would be affected by those tier increases. 9 members in tier 2 and 2 members in tier 3, and at this time there were no members in tier 4. The Delta Dental increase was 3%, and that was what we had budgeted for.
Great.
I
Yes,
have
ma'am.
some questions. So is this with Blue Cross Blue Shield, is this a PPO plan or what is this?
Yes.
So with your PPO plan, you guys offered like the gold plan, the classic gold, and the PPO classic, or are you under? Because I have Blue Cross Blue Shield with no job.
Blue, it's blue preferred,
Okay,
so that is what,
okay. So how much do they have to pay out of pocket, or do they have to pay any for themselves or just for their family?
there are in-network and out-of-network deductibles. The base plan has the $1,000 deductible, and the buy-up plan has a $500 deductible. Those are both the in-network. The out-of-network is obviously higher. There is a co-insurance, which is a copay, and 90%. I think that works. I'm not 100% sure on that. Percentage, I believe it's 10% would be the co-insurance, and then the max out-of-pockets.
So you said it's a PPO, yes?
Yes.
So is there any, did they offer you guys any other possibility as far as insurance goes? The reason I'm asking is because the one that we have, and we're school district jobs. There's 3 that you can go with. One is absolutely free, and then of course the high end, I pay out of pocket. I have to pay a little bit, walking $45 I think it was this year. But it seems that the deductible's a little bit lower, and there's more opportunity. And the family is much cheaper. That's why, I was paying $440 a month for my daughter, which everyone else was $700 or $800 per family. That's why I was just curious if there was any other that they would talk to you guys about.
We had another, so we had the initial one that came back with the 17%. This one at 5%. I don't see that, it's perhaps, I don't know if it wasn't asked for. In addition to this, we also, last year, because we got the $10,000 wellness money, and we will be getting that again for this contract, so.
I was just curious. I mean, your increase isn't that bad compared to
Mhm.
And are we paying 25% of the family plans?
On the core.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 25% supplemental coverage, so the difference, it's 25% of the difference.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what we're doing.
Well, it was an important benefit that the council voted in, so I wanted to.
Yeah,
make sure.
yes, yeah. It's in that first
Yeah,
paragraph.
and I won't disagree with you, just for the record straight, they're not an insurance company, they're brokers.
Thank you.
Yes, and they work with multiple insurance companies
Thank you.
to give us the best deal. Ms. Klein?
I don't really have a question. I'm glad to see that the primary care visits stayed the same, and the specialist visits didn't go up that bad. I just want to say that I'm always grateful to CBIZ for everything that they do, because they work extremely hard for the city and always manage to get us a heck of a deal. So, just want to say, just thankful to them for working things out.
So I used them in my business for years. They were a big help to me.
I do have one more.
Yes, ma'am?
Do you guys also offer, did you also offer your employees the availability of Aflac as a supplemental also? Oh, okay.
Yes, in addition to medical, dental, vision, VSP, Mutual of Omaha, which covers the $50,000 accidental life and plan, which employees can add additional if they like for themselves and their families. Then there is Aflac and also Legal Shield, which has prepaid legal services as well as identity theft assistance. That is at the employee's house.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the FY '21 Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance and dental, Delta dental insurance renewal agreements.
Second?
We have a motion, we have a second. Ms. Coronado?
Mayor Pro Tem Pollock,
Aye.
Councilmember Giacominno,
Aye.
Councilmember Higgins,
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson,
Aye.
Councilmember Klein,
Aye.
Mayor Smith.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Item number 5. Discussion of possible approval for service to install and repair city air conditioners. Mr. Howard,
Good evening, Mr.
is this one of those, ask for forgiveness?
A little bit, yes. I'm quite sure that.
Well, I was involved in that and indicated that there wasn't a question.
Yes, unfortunately, we had to get the air conditioners, installed on an emergency purchase. We did, however, acquire 3 proposals. Grasp was the least expensive at $7,547.23. The work is done, so if you have questions about how we got there, or if the staff likes the air conditioning in City Hall now, I'm sure
Yes.
Ms. Coleman would be happy to answer.
Nobody's asked to take it out.
I realized when I walked in one of those days and just saw the looks on people's face, I felt the heat. So it was something that absolutely, there was no question about it. Has to be done for the health and welfare of our people. And so sometimes we just have to do it and then bring it back to the council on an emergency basis. Ms. Giacominno?
For something like that, like when you have an emergency that comes up like this, is there like a special fund that you're able to pull it from if your specific department? Because, I mean, what department does that fall under when it's everybody's department? Does that make sense?
We actually have for this case, we actually have a building maintenance fund. So that's where it came from.
Okay. I was just curious because it wasn't like it was one department, it was everybody, you know, so.
And that happens with some other facilities also. We do pull from that fund for
Okay,
facilities that don't have a specific fund
okay,
assigned to them.
Sure.
thanks.
Any other questions? Yes? Yes?
Okay. I see that it's a deficit line, so I'm assuming that things will be rearranged. What line did it actually come from?
It did come from our building and maintenance budget. That has a line item for building repair and maintenance. And you're right. It is in a deficit. That line item is in deficit.
And I understand why you do that, so you can keep track for
Yes.
next year to
Yes,
see if you
absolutely.
need to put more money in this.
I do have one.
Yes, ma'am?
Okay, it says it includes a 1-year craftsmanship. What does that mean?
Well,
That's not a warranty, is it?
with the installation of it, part of that installation includes some craftsmanship of ducting and those types of things.
Okay,
So those types of things, the actual equipment itself, the air conditioners were existing, so the ducting, the installation of those is what's under the warranty.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Yes.
No other questions, do we have a motion?
I move to approve the payment for services to Grass Heating and Cooling Incorporated for installing air conditioning units for City Hall.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by stating aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Harlow. Item number 7. Discussion of possible approval of the notice of intent to adopt ordinance 02009, amending Article 16.2 Queen Mine Regulations and Fees, and providing for repeal and severability. Ms. Coleman?
Hi, so this came about because we did move your fees into their own schedule, so they were no longer needed in the ordinance itself. And then as you'll see, we rearranged some of the other wording to include the council establishing fees by resolution, and then also if there are special group rates that we can go ahead and work with each group on under special conditions to set that rate. So that's been added to the ordinance.
Any questions, Ms. Coleman?
No.
Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the notice of intent to adopt ordinance O-20-09, amending Article 16.2 regulations and fees and providing for repeal and severability.
I'll second that. Ms. Barnett?
Mayor Pro Tem Pollock,
Aye.
Councilmember Giacomino,
Aye.
Councilmember Higgins,
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson,
Aye.
Councilmember Klein, Mayor Smith.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Item number 8, discussion of possible approval of resolution R 2016, amending Queen Mine section of the city fee schedule. Ms. Coleman?
Yes, thank you. So after all of our careful review and re-review and rewrites and re-reviews, we did fail to include changes to the ages. So I understand that its frequent Marin has asked that the youngest age allowed in the mine is 6 years old, not 4 years old. So that brings about that change. And then also switching up the definition of adults and having that be 13 and older. So the fees themselves don't change, but the age groups to which the fees apply are changed from what you approved with your fee schedule.
Thank you. Do we have questions from Ms. Coleman? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
I move to approve resolution I said R, okay, -20-16, amending the Clean Mine section of the city fees control.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, Ms. Coronado.
Mayor Pro Tem Pollock,
Aye.
Councilmember Giacomino,
Aye.
Councilmember Higgins,
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson,
Aye.
Councilmember Klein, Mayor Smith.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Item number 9, discussion, and this is discussion regarding adoption of ordinance 02010, amending Article 4.5.1 rates and establishing Article 4.5.2 ambulance subscriptions and providing for repeal and severability. Ms. Coleman, you can start.
Yes, so on your fee schedule that you approved, it does list ambulance subscription, and it does indicate that it would be negotiated. So there was nothing to report to the public because we haven't gotten to the negotiation portion of the ambulance subscription fee, just establishing it as part of the ordinance. Thank you. And I will take responsibility for maybe pushing it just a little over the edge with the idea that it should be paid or shall be paid by all households. Just an idea that it would spread the cost out. I know there was a comment from someone regarding $75 that I don't know where that came from. As you know, in our budget, we had included $90,000 for potential subscriptions collected as income to offset the cost of the fire department. And we talked about what that would mean if it was $10 a month. Actually spread over all the households would be about $2.50 a month. So, but that is the discussion for after we have put this into your ordinance. In the meantime, it also came to my attention that as a potential 4.5.3, we should address a cost for non-emergency, non-transport response or public assist. So that's something that can also come back to you at a future meeting. So, any questions, comments?
Yeah, let me,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I need to explain how we got here. And this is an item that I personally brought up some 4 years ago. And the item was that this is a 100% voluntary situation for every household in our con of 440 square miles. And this is nothing more than an insurance policy, which is being done in 19 different locations within the state of Arizona right now and throughout California and many other locations. What this does is that, as an example, if we pick up a Medicare patient, our bill is X, and Medicare pays 60% of that, and we eat 40% of that. But we don't really eat that because the people are responsible for paying that difference. And it just so happens that in most cases, during the collection process, it's just not processed and they're not, quote, gone after. But we do apparently have that right to do that. And in many other cases, in most cases, your insurance does not pay for all of the services. Just like if you go to the hospital or your doctor, very often you'll get a bill afterwards. This forgives that also. So it's brought up on occasion, why do we do this? And the answer is because this subscription that we get is actual cash flow. It's actually money that comes in. And if a person is unable to pay, then they're unable to pay, and it's money that we'll never see. And so in most cases, we don't see that money. And so an ambulance subscription service is a proven tool that allows a jurisdiction to collect ambulance fees which offset through a subscription, which offset those losses that they would normally sustain. So it's just a way of collecting that 40%. It's not even the 40%, but it helps us get, it helps us get something towards that over and above that 60% area. And so that's what this was brought up. That's why I was looking at this. It is, again, 100% voluntary. So the letters and so forth that we've been getting indicating that it's a tax, et cetera, it's not, because if you don't want to use it, you don't use it. It's that simple. You don't subscribe. So that's how it was originally put forth. While I've got the pulpit here, the other thing that Ms. Coleman brought up about non-emergency services is a very valid point, where our fire department is called daily to locations to provide a public assist. Many of those locations are not even in the city of Bisbee. On a daily basis, they go outside the city and help people out of bed, as an example, or a number of other things where those people are relying on us to do that, where they could be relying or have to get caregivers to do that. The point is it's tying up a rig, and it's tying up 2 to 3 of our firefighters on every one of those situations, in which, if it's out of the city limits, then that's that many less people protecting our citizens that are actually paying for that service. So that's what the other aspect is to look at that and come up with a fee schedule for those non-emergency services, which currently they don't pay for. Okay.
I have a multitude of questions.
I'm sure I could
Well,
say.
you have no idea. First off, I thought we had a bill collection company that works for us, so why is the
Yes.
bill collection company not aggressively going after those people that do not pay that? That's my first question.
Mhm.
Secondly, I'm
You
gonna
want
put
an
my,
answer?
in a minute, I'm gonna put my parents on the spot, because they're my prime people. They have their Medicare, I guess it's called, the old thing, Medicare, and then they have a supplementary insurance. They pay nothing. So if they were to have to pay this, it's worthless to them, because they never pay anything.
Then they don't pay it, it's
Well, the
voluntary.
way that it says here, it doesn't say voluntary.
I
I know,
just
I'm
told
just
you.
telling you the concerns that have come because of the verbiage.
And I agree, that's why it's on
Yeah,
for
and I take
discussion.
responsibility
Right.
for that.
And her and
take
she and
full
I talked
responsibility
today,
for it. Yeah.
and one of the things that she and I talked about, which is not mentioned, but being voluntary, I guess it kind of knocks it out. If it wasn't voluntary, there's a big issue that was overlooked, and that's rentals. And again, I'm putting my parents on the
It's-
spot.
it's
Rentals, rentals. You have a home you own that you rent out to people to live there monthly. My parents have 10. So had this been mandatory, and you would have,
Well,
I know,
that's
well,
fine.
I just don't want it to come down the
Yeah.
pike and it come back up saying that it is, because then what happens to those people?
If it was, it'd be up to those people to pay, not your parents.
Not if you attach it to the sewer and the sewer is attached to the rent.
Okay,
So I just wanna make it sure that it's clarified that this is not gonna be mandatory, because again, that is the reading. And, you may smile and think it's funny, haha, but, this distressed quite a few people that I talked to, and including myself.
I understand that. I did not write the CAF, so.
Right,
Ms.
and
Cole's
it
taking
was
it in, I
totally
think.
for discussion,
Right,
this
right.
is not like past the ordinance.
Right, I know,
Yeah.
and I get that, you and I
Yeah.
talked about that, but I do just want it clear that this is
Yeah.
not going to be a mandatory, that it's
Well,
a.
that is totally up to you as a council to
Right.
provide that direction.
So then if
during
that's the
discussion,
case, okay,
yes.
if that's the case, I just wanna make it very clear that there are many people that are very disturbed about having to pay. And again, I'm one of those people too, because I'll never use the ambulance service, and I can say that honestly. There are people that are on fixed incomes that cannot afford it. And the biggest question was, if it was a mandatory, because again, that's what discussion, if it became a
Yes.
mandatory,
Yeah.
where is it going to be affixed? Is it gonna be affixed to the sewer bill? Is it gonna be a separate charge someplace else? I mean, these were all questions that came up again due to the verbiage of the.
Yes, and I take
Right.
responsibility.
And I understand it, I'm just stating these, because again, you just made a comment, it depends on how we decided to push
Yes,
it.
yeah, exactly.
And so I just want that.
So it'll come back as a new notice of intent
Okay.
ordinance at a future meeting.
Mhm. With, which verbiage, I guess?
Well, we will work it out. I mean, you could, just change it to the annual ambulance subscription may be paid by households in the city of Bisbee or within the service area.
Is it going to also include where, if you were to choose to do that subscription, how it's going to be done? Is that gonna be something that's gonna be, is it gonna be, if you choose to subscribe, is it gonna be attached to your sewer bill? Or is it gonna be a separate charge, or, how are people, is that gonna also be
Well,
discussed?
if
Those
I
people
asked
in the
her,
con,
please. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
don't get a sewer bill.
Yeah.
So it would be similar to what we're doing with
But I'm talking about
recycling.
the
Yeah.
in-town people,
Well, it would be similar to what we're doing with the folks outside the city who choose to recycle. They pay the annual fee.
But I mean the inside, I mean. if-
Yeah,
if
they would
people-
pay the annual fee.
So it would be a separate billing completely that they would receive from the city?
They would actually not get a billing at all. They would pay the annual fee in order to have the subscription.
Okay.
It
So
wouldn't
like
be a bill that
online
went
or-
out to them. They would just
Okay.
let us know they wanted to subscribe.
Okay, that's.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so
then-
maybe a form or something that they can fill out at the website or something?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Klein?
Again, now we, know that the
We're having
verbiage,
discussion.
the verbiage will be changed, because I also had a lot of people that were extremely upset over this. The fact that it said that, it shall be paid by all Disney households, and those inside of our CON may participate.
Mhm.
So, if we get that straightened out, and you said you didn't know where that $75 came from?
No, I don't.
It came from me.
I was gonna say, wasn't that, because you've been trying to push this
Yeah,
for
for-
quite a few years.
4 years ago,
Oh,
I
okay.
indicated that a often used charge 4 years ago
Oh,
was
okay.
$75 a
Oh,
year.
okay. Yeah, I had not heard that.
Yeah, well,
I
that's,
didn't know. Okay.
we've heard it before, so.
Okay, I had not.
So that was
Okay.
the thing there, but, yeah, I think this.
And that's a
needs to-
separate discussion. Just creating the ordinance allows for a subscription, then you'll need to talk about what the amount of that subscription would be. So they're two separate things.
For later date.
And then I guess the other concern I have is when we were talking about the budget and I asked about that $90,000
Right.
line item in revenue. And I asked if there was a plan in place or was a lofty goal. And I never really got an answer, but judging by the people who are opposed to this, I don't think that's a goal that we're going to meet in that revenue line
Okay.
item.
Okay.
So I have concerns there.
Okay.
Anything else for right now? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. And we have no reason to go into executive session per our attorney.
That's correct.
And so therefore, city manager's report, Ms. Coleman?
I did want to let you know that I did receive word today that our offer on the property at 121 Fort Wauchula Lane had been accepted by the seller. And we anticipate closing in 30 days. I am working with a private donor who wants to participate in our affordable housing program, and we'll work out making the final payment, the final wire transfer with them. We will be using the platform GoToMeeting in June to start back up with the committees that are established in your charter or your code, reaching out to their council liaisons and seeing if that's something you want to pursue for June. And then potentially we can also use that platform for the council in the future, maybe to address some of the concerns about using Facebook as our current platform. You'll receive charter amendments for action at your next meeting, but you'll actually get those amendments before the week is up. So if you would please review those as soon as you get them, that would be awesome. And then letting you know that I'm working with SEGO on an EDA grant opportunity that came out of one or more versions of the CARE Act. And hopefully we'll be able to get that submitted next week, again, with an emphasis on affordable housing.
What was the name of the Seagull?
It's an EDA
EDA. Okay.
EDA grant. I'm working with Jay Natchett, who is their new EDA coordinator, director, to get that grant application together.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Higgins?
I move to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Those in favor of adjournment, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We stand adjourned.
I remember.